Welcome back, family, to another episode of LANCESCURV. Remember, if you do not see us on social media, you can always go to LANCESCURV.com. That's my own personal website that has all of the work that we've done over the last 22 and a half, almost 23 years. You'll find it there. The artwork, the written articles, the YouTube videos, the street videos, and everything else in between, which there are many more categories of creativity coming that way. So I want you to be able to experience it. So always make sure to go there and leave a comment, because that is my platform. These other platforms we're passing through. There's a lot of censorship going on, and we have to watch what we say, right? But not there. We can say what we want. And that's the kind of person I am. Shoot from the hip. But those kind of people are not so appreciated in this world anymore. What can I say? Anyway, whoa. This is going to be a short one. I always say that, and they always end up being the longest, right? But on Saturday night, which for me, it is Sunday morning in West Africa, Ghana. So I'm a few hours ahead, of course, 5 hours ahead. So if this is 12:13, that means it's, what, 7:13 on the East Coast. But I'm going to drop this before I sign off tonight. We have more shows that are going to be coming. I haven't made the links yet. But I've been talking to a few individuals who are going to be coming on. We're going to do something a little different. That being said, I want to sometimes, not always on a Saturday night, but I want to get on and answer some of the interesting comments or inquiries that come through in the comment section. If there's something that you'd like for me to answer, I'm not a guru. I'm not a psychic. I don't mean on that level. Of course, I'll always give my opinion, but you can leave it in the comment section and say, hey, you know, Lance, I'm leaving this comment. I want you to deal with this comment. If it's something stupid, I'm not going to deal with it, right? But if it's something worthwhile, we'll cover it. So that's why I say I don't know how long I'm going to answer these questions. I have 3 that I want to answer, and they're unrelated, but I do want to answer them, right? So the first one I'm going to answer, and really all of them that came through that were interesting. I said, whoa, these are some deep comments here, right? Craig Johnson, 94, my brother. Always there to support, always leaving comments. You're not hiding behind the tree and peeking, afraid to show yourself. There's a lot of those too. New pages made. Folks don't want to show their face. I understand. You still like the show, but you're not going to support it. It's cool. It's cool, because Lance is going to keep on doing what he's doing. Anyway, about 7 hours ago, Craig Johnson, 94, he asked this question. He said, how does a good, ambitious person whom was always sabotaged, nothing ever worked out, although much later in life, the universe seems to be working in your favor now, although it seems too late? And that's what kind of stoked my creative juices to come up with a few words and speak on this, because, Brother Craig, a lot of us can identify with what you said. I can identify with what you say. But the thing is, I'm not saying you think this way, but like you said, it seems too late. But remember, perception is reality. And if you perceive that, it's going to become your reality. Me, I don't know about anybody else, but I have the enthusiasm of an 18-year-old who just got out of high school. That's just the way I am. And I know my chronological age, which is 60, but so what? So what? Doesn't the sun shine down on me too? When I hear a good joke, don't I laugh? When I have a good meal, doesn't it taste good to me? It doesn't matter. It's never too late. It makes it actually that much sweeter when you've gone through the trials and tribulations of this world and this life, when you finally get to bite into that sweet pie of your peace of mind and success. And again, success does not just mean money. It means a lot of different things for different people. And a lot of us have been brainwashed into thinking that success has a certain look, that success means this or that. Well, who said that success meant this or that? Many of us who are brainwashed, and again, I'm not saying this towards you, Brother Craig Johnson, 94, speaking overall, that was a starting point for me to kind of rant on this. And I'm going to actually take to the streets sometime this week, right? And I'm going to ask people, what is success? Tell me what it looks like. Is it something you have? I'm not even going to say that. Tell me, in your mind, for you to be successful, what does that look like? And I know the majority of people are going to say, well, I'm going to have this nice car. I'm going to have this nice house. I'm going to have the perfect mate. Oh, yes, the perfect mate. Totally faithful and supportive and in my corner and not putting other people over me and, the good stuff. And some people may not answer it that way. But I'm willing to bet that unless you get to a sizable age, where you have a little more wisdom and you realize that success is not just the material stuff, right? But most people will say that. I guess most of you can agree. More than 51%, more than 50%, the majority. It could be as small as 51%, all the way up to 99%. But nonetheless, most will think that. And I'm not going to get you or get mad at you for that. But you're never too late, brother and sisters out there. It only makes it sweeter when you finally get there. But number one, you're going to be sabotaged when you have that light inside of you, when you have that positivity inside of you. I understand that in this life, more so than ever before, that people will work so hard to sabotage you. When you said, how does a good, ambitious person? They don't want to see no good, ambitious person. It's diametrically opposed to who they are. These entities can smile with you, can say motivational words with you, but they do not have your light. So this is why they're put here to sabotage you. Therefore, you never give them the victory of their sabotage. And like you said, nothing ever worked out. Although much later in life, the universe seems to be working in your favor. It may not have ever worked out, but it did that for a reason. Because when you finally get it, when you finally achieve it, you deserve it. And you know what? It's that much sweeter. Most people don't realize that. I'm not saying it's not sweet to get to where you have to go or to manifest the seeds of greatness inside of you at 20 years old. I just picked that number out of the air. But the bottom line is you don't know life like you will when you're 40, when you're 50, when you're 60. I'm not saying the next person knows more about life than you if they're those ages. I'm just saying you on your personal path will be a better version of yourself, or more well-honed version of yourself, a smarter and wiser version of yourself. So that as time goes by and you see the passage of time, you understand how things you can gain quick, you can lose them quick. But when it's hard earned, it's that much sweeter when you reach it. So when you finally get there and take a bite into that success, you're not thinking about what age you are. You're thinking about, well, I finally got here. I finally made it. And all of the thoughts of age and how much you got stepped on and people sabotage you, it dissipates. Do you think where I am right now in my personal life, where I want to be? Nobody's going to take that joy away from me because I know how hard earned it was. If I achieved this at 20 or 25, yes, maybe I would enjoy it. But after all those years working on those jobs that I didn't want to be on, with those people who I didn't like and they didn't like me, and I'd get up out of the bed and say, oh God, I don't want to go to work tonight. And I worked a lot of night jobs. That was even worse. Everybody's getting ready to go to bed and I'm getting ready to get up and go to work. Oh man. But you know what? I learned from those days. And I tell you, these days are sweet. You have little things that annoy you, but overall, nobody can stop this joy. Because I learned, I took the bumps and bruises in life, and I understand now. You see, you can't read about it and get it. And now, let me just say, it doesn't mean that you can't learn it earlier. There's some very wise people in the chat room. Sister Oyala, Fetty, Riri, George Harris, Gifty Sine. You caught me. I thought about you. I didn't know if I did a good job distributing everything. And again, I said this is not going to be something super long because I'm feeling the fatigue. I won't put my head down, but you never know. I might get up in the middle of the night for me, which will still be the evening for you. And I know it's early somewhere on the East Coast. Hint, hint, hint. Like, wow, like 3:22 or something like that. Is it 3? Yeah, maybe 4:22. I'm not sure, but over there, that's a long reach. Technology we can use for such a wonderful thing. It doesn't mean that relatively you can't get better with each succeeding year. But you don't want to wait too long now. But when you live life and you can put everything into perspective, it doesn't bother you as much because you understand. See, things that would freak us out when we're 16, 17 years old, situations and different things, it may still bother us, but it doesn't freak us out as much because we've been trained through the trials and tribulations in life. You see what I mean? Yes, Gifty, Pastor Miles Monroe, I met him. I wasn't close enough to shake his hand, but I was maybe 3 rows behind where he spoke, and visually he acknowledged me. I shook my head, looked at him, and he gave me that look right on back. And I believe that had to be like maybe 2011, 2010, 2012, right around in there somewhere. That's why when he transitioned in that plane crash, it hurt me so much because I felt and knew that he was one of the real ones. And a comment was made in one of the earlier videos, not years ago, but a couple days ago. I forgot which one. I'm not going to sit up and say, I make so many videos, I forgot about it. But, you know, it's one continuous thing. I just walk away from my computer and my equipment. When I come back, even though I title it a certain way, this is a continuation of life and life experiences and life conversations. It may have certain points and certain people that we'll bounce off of, but it's all about the experience of life. So this is why I won't say, I'm a YouTuber, I'm a this, I'm a that. The general box. No, I don't fit in that. None of us do. Some of us don't realize it. But I met him, and that's why I get the term die empty. Because we're supposed to try to die empty. And what do I mean by that? Because I don't believe in dying. I say transitioning, but he used the term die empty. And I asked this question before. And I said, do you throw away your toothpaste after you use it 2 or 3 times and it's damn near full? No. You get rid of it when you use the toothpaste up. Die empty. Exactly. So you know how it is. You get the toothpaste and you squeeze it out. You know, you're busy, you got things to do. And most of us get extra toothpaste to keep in the house. But for those times when you didn't, oh man, you didn't have any, you squeezed everything up from the bottom to the top. You get that little part where you screw on the cap and that part ain't budging, so you shove your fingers up under that and you see it go halfway but it don't come out. Then you take the toothbrush and you stick it in there to try to catch a little bit, and you get a half behind toothbrush thing going on before, and you're like, I got to get some toothpaste. Why do we wait till the last minute? Why do we die full? Why do we die with so much inside of us that we never dug as deep as we did when we were looking for the toothpaste? What a rotten feeling to walk out the house and you didn't brush your teeth. It's happened to me, rushing, half asleep. Whether you're driving or taking the bus to the train, public transportation, all of a sudden you're like, I left out the house and didn't brush my teeth. At least we don't go out of the house without washing our backsides, or at least I hope you don't leave. But that's what he said, die empty. And I've been doing that. Not dying, but emptying out. Something clicked in me when he said that. It ignited something in me. And you all know how I get on religion and man's intervention in the spiritual affairs through the guise of religion. Like I always say, ain't nobody learning how to ride a bike by reading a book, right? I'm not saying the Bible, right? I'm just saying nobody learned to ride a bike by reading a book. You got to get on the bike. Hopefully you're so talented that you can navigate gravity and balance and never bust up your knees. But I had a lot of days when my knees were scabbed up, elbows too. Almost got me in the face when I fell. But you wanted to ride that bike so much, you got up and you put your hands on it. Hands-on experience. Hands-on experience in life is the best teacher. The things I think back on that terrified me when I thought about it. And I had no choice but to go through it. And I went through it. And I looked back and said, if it happens again, it might terrify me, but it might terrify me a little less. You become battle tested. You move forward in certain situations that would put fear in you, and you say to yourself, you draw back on those old experiences. You said, I went through that. How are you going to stop me by putting this in front of me? I'm going to go through that too. You see what I mean? You got to draw strength from the things that put fear in you. You can't be afraid to die empty. We're going to transition anyway. What goodness is inside you, bring it out. We take more time with the spoon in the empty peanut butter jar. And you know, when you scrape around the side, you have them little lines up and down, and you just take your time and pull the spoon up on the inside on one of them lines and keep doing it. Oh, I got a scoop. Then you got the little edge around the top. You stick the spoon and you pull it out that way. Why don't we have the sense of urgency to pull out the seeds of greatness and manifest them the same way that we get that last bit of peanut butter out the peanut butter jar? We do everything else with a sense of urgency, but we don't do enough. And so there's not a day that goes by where doctor, pastor, and so many other words around him, Miles Monroe, doesn't cross my eyes, because when he said that, he kept looking at me. I'm not trying to amp the story up. He was talking to a bunch of people. He wasn't up high on a pulpit. I believe it was the juvenile detention center where he was speaking. And I don't know how we found out about it or ended up there, but there are a lot of young men around and a lot of regular folks that were sitting in there. And when he was speaking, oh, I felt it. He wasn't just a jackleg pastor. I believe he was a man of means also. But after that, I began to follow him, and he was putting in the work. So why shouldn't he be made able to get around? Because he's saying the real thing. He didn't even ask for money. He was just doing the damn thing. And he wrote a whole lot of books. I think it was like 69 books that he wrote. I'm trying to get on my first one. 69 books. There was no cheating, no chat GTP or GPT or whatever. Ghostwriters. He did it old school, and he had something to say, and he left something for us. You see, sometimes we don't miss a person until they're gone, especially when there's a work to be done. I don't care if you're selling shoes on the street corner. The day you need shoes or you realize the shoes you put on to go to work are busted, you're going to go looking for that man because he has a reputation for doing what he does. And this goes for women too. When I say man or an example, I mean both sexes. But it's never too late. It just makes it sweeter when you finally get that plate of food. You ever go on a long buffet or some type of event where they have the food laid out and everybody runs up? Let me tell you something. The first person who gets the food's going to taste good, hopefully. The second person. But say there's maybe 300 people at that event and there's a last full plate that this person gets, and he's been waiting for a long time because there's 300 people ahead, 299 people ahead of him, right? But by the time he sits down with his plate and tastes how good the food tastes, that first person pretty much waxed off the food that was in their plate. And they're looking at the man eating. They're saying, boy, that food was good that I ate, but I wish I had another serving, but he's eating his now. It took him a little while to get it. But out of all the people that are there, it's doing him sweeter because nobody else has a full plate like him. You're going to get to where you have to go. We can't always compare our walk with other people because we can be on different levels that require more out of us because we were built for that. Like I say, you can't take a vacuum cleaner engine or a lawnmower motor and put it in an 18-wheeler. See? So when you have to deal with 18-wheeler issues in your life, understand, like the truck that has the cabin that's huge in the back, you were built for this. See, that 18-wheeler sees the same fog and the same rain and the same things to blur it visually. It may have to slow down a little bit, but it's carrying a lot more because it's built for that. So Miles Monroe was that candle who lit thousands of candles without diminishing his flame. And that's what we should be doing. Who am I to tell you what to do? But that's something you can't argue with. We're supposed to shine light to the world, even when we're under duress, because that's what we're put here for. Because this little couple decades in this world ain't much at all. After a while, you begin to figure that out. Ain't too much going on here. It is, but it isn't. You need to be doing stuff to carry you through to eternity or the next level than the foolishness that doesn't really matter. I mean, when your hair is out of shape, say back in the day when we all wore afros, right? And you go to the barber shop and get your hair cut. You know, your hair was a little out of place, shaped up wrong, or just, fuzzed out. And you sit in the barber chair, and he's always got something on his hands that smell good because he sprayed the other person with something on, something nice, make your afro glisten. So when he gets close to you, he smells good. And he's cutting your hair down. By the way, you told him, listen, a little lower on the side, keep the top, back in the day when you had shags, all that stuff that made it look corny now. Oh, that's so 1980s. But after he was done and sprayed that afro up, and it was so perfectly round or it shaped the way you wanted it, and you're in front of the mirror, and he held that handheld mirror back and gave you an angle, and you look and you shake your head, and he gave you the left side, and you shook your head, and he showed it to you, and you felt good. You felt different walking down the street now that you got your hair cut and trimmed and shaped up. But guess what? All the things you've been through in life, you remember them, and it makes you stronger. But when you get your hair cut at the barbershop to shape up your afro, the old experience of the hairs that were out of place, you don't go, hold on a second, let me go down there and pick each hair up. Pick up that ball of hair over there. You don't walk with that. You enjoyed the meal when you're home. You bought some orange juice that you wanted to drink. You bought a box cake that you didn't have to bake. And you throw the box out when you're done. You throw the orange juice container out when you're done. You don't sit that up on the table and say, oh, it was a good meal. I'm going to keep this trash here. You get rid of what served you, which got you to the next level, and you carry on. And this is how we see the passage of time. Look, I've been through some grimy situations of things that were done to me. I don't say, well, back in 1983, this girl broke up with me. In 82, the other one stopped talking to me. And in 1985, I've seen people go through their whole life talking through things year by year. You go to the barbershop and pick up your hair, and you pick it up other people's hair too. And you're going to mope. I could have quit a long time ago. Like I said in the other show, I could have been crazy from 1994 when my mother transitioned and the things that were going on around me. Let me tell you a little something with what went on with me. My ex-wife was around me at that time, but we weren't married yet. My mother had a stroke, a second one. It took her out, brain dead. She's laying in the hospital, and all I can hear and all I remember at that particular point is the sound of what is it? What's the machine that keeps you breathing artificially? Respirator, something. But that. And I could see that there was no life in her face. She looked to be a little dehydrated. They had things off. My next door neighbor, who eventually stopped speaking to me for petty reasons, he was there. The one who I was yet to marry was there. My old girlfriend of 8 years showed up. Nobody told her. We broke up the year before. She came in there with her fake self, trying to appeal to me because she felt guilty. It's okay, we broke up. No need to feel guilty, but hey, I appreciate you coming. I told her that. All the while I'm hearing the sound. And I'm seeing my mother's chest cavity rise and fall with no life. She was a vegetable. I knew in many conversations that we had that she told me, Lance, if I'm in a situation where there's a machine keeping me alive, it's almost like she knew. I mean, this was when she was much younger, when I was much younger. She said, please let me go. Don't keep me there. Don't keep my soul trapped. Don't keep my consciousness on this level. And it's time for me to leave the body, but I can't because I'm being kept alive artificially. And I heard that in my head. Now, my old girlfriend asked to speak to me in private. I didn't see nothing wrong with that because she knew my mother quite well. And so when I went outside in the hall to talk to her, she hugged me. Not out of concern for my mother and the times that we all had together, but now she's trying to appeal to me for whatever reason I don't know. She's like, who is that other woman in there? Is that the one you're seeing now? You need to come back with me. You need to be back with me. She didn't mean it. She saw me on my way to my new life. And for whatever reasons. So now, the plug was pulled. I was laying in the bed the next morning. The night before, I spoke to the whole staff and I filled out paperwork. My mother was on that machine for a couple of days while I was deep in thought and kept calling to see if there was any increase in brain activity. There was none. What little it was, 2 or 3% was gone. And yet I held on for another 2 or 3 days. So when I was at the hospital, I told them, I said, listen, I'm going to gather a couple of close friends. Of course, we're going to have a ceremony, but I'm going to gather a couple of close friends. And I think it's time. Personally, my mother told me about this situation, and I'm going to pull the plug tomorrow. All right. So we'll do this tomorrow. The Indian doctor, the doctors told me, fine. You have to fill out certain paperwork for certain legalities and certain reasons. I was so smashed when I went home. I looked at the time and I said, wow, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. It's 11 more hours. Or rather, sorry, 1 o'clock in the morning. 11 more hours. 2 o'clock in the morning, 10 more. I didn't sleep much. And I knew I'd be up on time to go to the hospital. So I finally dozed off about 4:30 in the morning. I said, okay, I'll wake up at 10. I'll go straight over there. Because it's something I really didn't want to do, but I had to. The phone rung 6:30 in the morning. This is 1994. We had bootleg, zapped cell phones, but that wasn't a cell phone. That was my house phone. So who's calling me this time of the morning? So I picked the phone up. Voice was all jacked up. Hello? Well, Mr. SCURV, we want to let you know that we pulled the plug for your mother. It's 6:06 this morning. And, you need to come up and deal with this situation. I said, what? You did what? Yes, I said, didn't I tell you to wait until noontime so I can be there with my friends? And, I was out of it. My mother was already gone, but I'm like, man, you killed my mother? I'm coming up there right now. I want to walk outside my drawers. I never felt so much violence in my heart. I knew a lot of friends on both sides of the track. I knew people that had machine guns. I knew people who had all types of toys. I didn't live like that. But when you go to elementary school, middle school, junior high school, some of your classmates may take a turn and go down a different road, but they're still cool with you and they still love you. And they love your mother and your father, especially when they would bring them into the house when they didn't have anything to eat and say, listen, you can come and eat dinner at my house. And I was thinking about things I can do. I was so upset. I walked to the hospital, which wasn't too far. It was Jamaica Hospital on the Van Wyck Expressway, about maybe half a mile above Atlantic Avenue. I went in there with murderous intentions. I didn't have anything in my hand, but for a second, I wanted to kill everybody that had anything to do with that. Very traumatic for me. I was out of it for about 2 weeks. I couldn't think straight. So when I say sometimes there's things I don't really share all the time that push me to the edge, I know what it's like to be on the edge. So much on the edge, if the wind blow behind me will push me into the world of crazy. This is why I'm as intense as I am, not just because of the one thing. There's a gazillion things that have happened to me. So in that, I got so much to share. And who knows how much time we have, but I'm determined to die empty. For those who don't know Mr. Miles Monroe, I can't claim to know. I know him. I know him through his work, but I met him. If I had the chance and thought about it, I would have reached over and stayed. We left a little earlier because someone else spoke, but he was still there. I would have went over to him and shook his hand. But his constant glances at me, which let me know he knew that he was reaching me with his words. And when he passed away on November 9th, 2014, and I got the news, I remember exactly where I was. I was in my little studio in Orlando, Florida, in the house, that one little bedroom where I had the black wall with the yellow stripes, but it didn't have a black wall yet, and it didn't have yellow stripes. I didn't have half the equipment that I was to accrue years after as I worked and collected things. But I was already starting to do shows and recordings. And when I found that out, Mr. SCURV came into the room, and I told her the news, and I broke out crying so hard. I don't care what anybody says about these other pastors. I'm quite sure there's some real ones out there. But I know that one there man, that man right there, I know he's the real thing. And yes, he would call himself pastor, and I guess he considered himself a Christian, whatever. But at the root, he's the real thing. Look at how many people claim this and claim that, and they're fake and they're false. I happen to know some personally. You might know them too. They claim everything about African spirituality, and they really use it as a cover for the damn occult that they're involved in. I'm not calling African spirituality the occult. No, I'm not. But they use that as a cover for their weirdo occult events that they go to with their weirdo animal sacrifices going against somebody else. If you are righteous in your heart, I don't care who you are, why are you doing something to go against somebody else? Because your ego can't stand that they exist, and you have a light inside of you that they can't replicate. You have gifts and talents that they despise because they can't do what you do, so they have to snuff you. Like I said, whether you believe the story or not, I'm going to say it again like I said it yesterday. It could be allegories, it could be stories, it could be whatever, it could be real. Let's not argue about that. But Judas was sitting right up next to Jesus, plotting his death because he's envy. Of his envy. Cain killed Abel because of his envy. You see what I mean? So here we have people who whisper into your ear to try to discourage you, to make you feel like it's too late. Like I said, when I promoted the show, I just made this banner, put this together, and I decided to talk about this stuff. It comes naturally for me. There are people who despise that. I don't verbally plagiarize anybody. We sitting at the bus stop right now having a conversation. We sitting in the diner right now. You sitting across from me. Maybe we don't know each other, but we struck up a conversation. It comes from the heart and it flows so easily. I can't help that. That's the way I talk. And after this, I'm going to go to bed and have a nice deep sleep and get up and do it again. Let's do it again. But we need to take note when real words come to us. Here I am. What? November 9th, 2014, he transitioned. For you, it's still November 11th. For me, it's November 12th, Sunday, because of the time gap from America to West Africa. But ain't it something that we're damn near talking exactly 9 years after his plane hit that crane? Let me read a little Wikipedia for people who don't really understand who he is, and I'm going to move on to the next one. Miles Monroe, born April 20th, 1954, transitioned November 9th, 2014, was a Bahamian evangelist and ordained minister, avid professor of the Kingdom of God, author, speaker, and leadership consultant. He founded and led the Bahamas Faith Ministries International, BFMI, and Miles Monroe International. He was also the chief executive officer and chairman of the board of the International Third World Leaders Association and president of the International Leadership Training Institute. Dr. Monroe was the author of numerous books as well. Monroe and his wife died in a plane crash on November 9th, 2014. Bahamian officials stated their aircraft struck a crane at a shipyard near Grand Bahama International Airport. Monroe and the other passengers were heading to Grand Bahama for a conference. And there's so much more. You could find it on Wikipedia. They said how he grew up and had how many brothers and sisters? It was about 10. You know what I mean? And they lived in what was it? Like a 2-room house. That alone is going to train him for some things in life. You see what I mean? Oh, Gifty, that's so sweet. I love you too. And thank you. Whatever I am. Whatever I have, I'm going to give. You know what I mean? I'm not going to sit here and be like, yes, I'm this and I'm that. No. We're just hanging out and we're talking real. I can't talk any other way other than that. I'm not here for some performance. I'm not here to talk in an anal retentive way and, oh, this is the LANCESCURV show and I'm going to talk today about this. No, I don't have no notes in front of me. I just had the Wikipedia for the facts so I can share it with you, because some people will be like, who the hell is that? I want to say a few things because I honor that man. Don't care if he was Buddhist or into Judaism or Islam, whatever. The spirit he had. And let me tell you something about these religions. It's about spirituality. But religion is put there to quicken us and strengthen us to become. It's a launching pad. Some of us run into it, but it's been tainted. It's kept us on a runway where we don't take flight, spiritual flight. Most of them don't do that. You got to take it upon yourself to reach for your level or higher level of ascension, because it's become so much of a business. Didn't T.D. Jakes say Jesus is a business? Do you think Miles Monroe would say that out of his mouth? Yes, there are business aspects to running organizations of that size, but he was a man that he made himself accessible. He was right in front of me, talking like a regular dude. And he stood after and talked to people. And I should have had man, if I had my camera, if I knew, but we never know. We never know. Look at that. Brother Mike Hamer transitions. And we're all going to transition. This is why I'm hurrying up, not hurrying up to die, but hurrying up so I make sure I'm empty. And being empty doesn't mean you're just going to die right after that. But what a joy to walk around empty. After a big meal, don't you like to go to the bathroom and walk around empty? Do you want to walk around with the food inside of you? That's not too comfortable. You want it out of you. You want the nutrition, but you want to feel light. Because there's too many people walking around with food in their gut from 3 Thanksgivings ago. You don't want, how terrible, how stink. So when you have gifts inside of you, you want to get them out. I'm excited. I'm so excited about tomorrow. I'm tired right now, and I'm excited about tomorrow. If the sun came up and said, let's start, I'll jump right on it with my tired self. Because you got to have the enthusiasm for life as much as you can. Because when it's taken away from you, that's it on this level. You got to do it every day, whatever it is. You got to think it every day. You got to reach for it every day, even sometimes when it seems like it's impossible. You got to fight. Your opponent is beating you down for a couple rounds. You know you got a little more strength in you. You pull up. You got one eye left. The other one's closed. Your tooth is knocked out. Your nose is bloody. Your arms are heavy. But you keep punching. You got to give 100% of whatever you have. I've said it before. Some days we wake up, we feel like we're 200%. Well, use it. Some days you wake up, you're 60% of what you had the day before. And if you had 100% the day before, and you're 60% now, what you going to do, quit? Oh, man, I only got 60%. I can't do like I did yesterday. Well, you gave 100% yesterday because you were 100%. If you're 60% today, give 100% of the 60%. Whatever you got on your plate, you got to do what you got to do. I don't care if it's 12%. Give 100% of the 12. It's not about if you have 100%, give 100% of whatever it is you have. So it's never too late because you're still here. There's something that you can give. You may be beat down, but there's something you can give. There's that one more punch you can throw in the battle and challenges of life. And that just might be the one punch that knocks out the opponent who's ahead on points every round, beating you down. I saw a fight You know I'm a big fight fan. This had to be March of either 79 or 80. Let me check. Let me see how bad I am. It was Mike Weaver fighting John Tate. I said what? I said March of either 79 or 80. Let's punch it in. Let's see. Okay, let's see. It's not giving me a date. Okay, let me pull this up. I know it's going to say the date on this one. Let's see if I was right. And I'll tell you why I brought that fight up. Matter of fact, okay, wait now. Okay, they're giving a history on this. Okay, it was March 31st, 1980. I was right. I said it might be 79, but I said March 1980. Me, my friend Manny, and Mike, we were sitting in front of the TV in my house watching this fight. And John Tate pretty much waxed up Mike Weaver. So a 15-round fight when they used to have 15-round fights, right? And I'll drop that in there for those who watch this afterward and want to look at it, right? John Tate was putting on a clinic on Mike Weaver. And here we are on the 15th and last round. Same thing. John Tate was on his way to a sure victory. And I forgot what punch it is. I won't say I know exactly. I got to watch the fight again and relive it. But Mike Weaver came out of nowhere. I don't know if it was one punch or two or three. He was fatigued and beat down. He knocked out John Tate face down on the ground. I remember him jumping up so much, he fell down on the ground too, like he just got knocked out. It's never too late. So if you're in the 14th round and you lost all 14th rounds, you're going to quit in the corner? As long as you're in the fight, there's a reason for you being there. It's not decided yet. You could be 80 years old. And you listen to the naysayer, oh, you're 80 years old, what you doing? Look at Dr. Aday, 85 years old. Giving lectures and putting on clinics and teaching you things that the school would never teach you. Doing shows, and the first show we did was 10 hours. You remember that? Those can be destructive on the body sitting there that long. He broke it down a little bit, but it's just as intense. And ain't no 30-minute show either. He gets into it. So it's never too late. Look at what she's doing now. Maybe she wasn't the way she was now back then. She was in her formative years. And maybe he had to come up the traditional way in academia and learn everything of what they want you to learn. And after a while, she said, wait, hold on a second. I'm researching some things that don't go like this. And she went her own way. It's never too late. We all get discouraged. We all feel down. It happens to me. But my 50% lots of times is 200% for somebody else. And I know that because I've learned how to train my mind to think from a very young age, thanks to my parents. But there are days and I'm like, this is going to be a little rougher here. But you know what? I don't care what I got in the tank. I'm giving 100% of what I have. So don't worry about what's in the tank. Give it all. And when you give it all with no fear, the Creator sees this and he'll fill your cup right back up. Don't worry about it. Face each day knowing that you're going to be closer to your victory. This is why the naysayers that get up in these DMs and Discord and chat rooms and coming around with, reach out to me, let's talk, ain't producing a damn thing, moving closer and closer to the day when they find them dead at the keyboard. They ain't taking 100% of nothing. And that don't count. Using 100% of zero. Activities that's not going to make any change in anybody's life. This thing, social media, can be a very good thing, but for many, it's a crack pipe. You're a suspended animation. You're pre-embalming your mind and your body. You're killing yourself. dealing on the flip side of this thing that could become a poison, and it's engineered to become a poison for us. Every negative, foul spirit that's out there can get into your brain if you don't have the filter, and you're intaking and ingesting this sugary, sweet sin that's killing you off and stopping you from dying empty. And yes, if you live like that, it's too late. Go on and get a shovel, dig up your grave, and jump in, because you're of no use when you're vibrating that way. I'm sorry to break anybody's bubble, but that's the truth. The day I can't get up and deal with what's inside of me and share it with the world, I might as well just go on and jump off one of these balconies in the back of the house. Just jump off, because I'm of no use. And like I said, the last show and the one before that, the next level of ascension don't want you ain't packing your filth and bringing it with you. You know, I like to gossip. I like to badmouth people. I like to take money and don't pay it back. I like to do all these. Yeah, it's gonna be nice. Just like them buzzers in the department store when you try to walk out with something you're not supposed to walk out with. I don't know how it's gonna go, but you ain't going to the next level with the filth you doing right now. It ain't gonna work. But your pastor's not gonna tell you that. He's gonna say all the right things so you can get that little money in the collection plate. Ain't that something? Because for some, Jesus is a business. Miles Monroe didn't believe that, even though he had to deal with the business aspect of maintenance on his buildings, his churches, his organizations. You got to pay to get on the plane and all that stuff. But you look at his face right there, that wasn't a fake face right there. That man was deep. He could have came up on the street corner and been deep. There'll be some people who say, oh, look at him, he's just a Negro from the street. But he's a pastor. He came up in the hood in the Bahamas. He had every reason to quit and not be who he is. And I say is because the spirit of him goes on, because I'm talking about him. People ain't talking about you or how you affected them or how you affected somebody that affected them. So you're getting it from somewhere else. There are definitely people that affected him that we have to be thankful for, to bring him to that point, and he ran with it. We always representing somebody, whether we know it or not. And for those who may have had parents or those to caregivers, whatever, what do you say when you see two well-behaved children that might be 6, 7 years old, might be 3 or 4 of them, brothers and sisters? You didn't see the parents may be off, it's a store or something, they're purchasing something, and they're sitting down in the chair behaving themselves. And you in the checkout line looking like, what the kids see? Some other little kids running around, grabbing stuff, making them, and these kids are well-dressed and sitting there. And you see the mother come up to them after paying for the groceries or whatever she got, and then you're compelled. Say, excuse me, miss, may I say something to you? And she says, yes. You're doing something good with those children because they are so well behaved. I have to say, that reflects on you. So if you claim to be this and you claim to be that, understand you're representing somebody that fed into you. See? But most people don't think that way. They get holy on a Sunday morning. And when Monday comes, or even Sunday night, all hell breaks loose because they're not representing those who fed into them. Yeah, we have periods in our life where we don't get it. You know, some of us get older and don't get it. Some of us never get it. That's bad. They like to pop. They like the corn that never popped in the bag. You bite down and it hurts your tooth. You don't understand. I thought my phone was charging this whole time. Power 15%. But you know what? I'm not on the phone now. But if I was, I'd give 100% of the 15%. Let me just touch on what our friend asked us about. Craig Johnson, 64, is that the name in the comment section? Like I said, I'm just answering a few comments that were left all throughout the week, but really a couple hours ago. I'll do this. Maybe it won't always be on Saturday, but things just say, hey, talk about this, girl, with it. Just maybe I'll do 15 minutes on it. Doesn't have to be a whole hour, right? So I spoke about the first question that Craig Johnson 94 asked. I'm going to say it again. How does a good, ambitious person whom was always sabotaged, nothing ever worked out, although much later in life, the universe seems to be working in your favor now, although it seems too late? And that's what I said. I named the title of this, It's Never Too Late. So even with those that I'm speaking about here that are not really part of the title, because he asked the question about, I also thought Dr. Miles Monroe was off the charts and so underrated. Also think he was maybe taken out of the powers that be because he was so powerful. I feel that. That's one of the first things I thought, because he was so different. He didn't come after anybody, but he was showing people up. You know what I mean? Whether you want to look at the template of Christianity or remove that, he was doing the damn thing. You see what I mean? He was doing it. And so now his other question was, it's more of a sports thing, boxing, because he knows I love boxing. What do you think of Aaron Pryor, who would just come out of the corner swinging like an amateur? To have the confidence to do that with other professionals was amazing to me. And that right there, that question, Craig, to me, who love boxing, I could do a 6-hour show on that. Because usually when you're a fighter, first of all, you got to have a certain state of mind. It's not coming all from the same place. It's always an individual thing, but it's something driving you on the inside. Because I don't know how many people here ever got punched in the face, even with gloves, even on the side of your head. We watch this thing and say, he took a few blows, he couldn't take it, Well, let's see how much you can take. I used to play around with it lightly, and I got hit in the face, hit in the head. It is not easy. You have a boxing glove, and you catch a left hook to the side of the head, to the right side of your face, or to your head, over your ear. Do me a favor. Cup your hand, and put it over your ear, and just tap your head slowly with ever increasing power. And you get an idea of that effect. There was some boxing movie that I watched where every time the guy got hit, they made a sound effect like boom, boom. That's what it's like. I got hit in the head so hard a couple times, sparring with some older friends of mine that were getting into the boxing training for fights. I had ringing in my head for the next 3 days. I'm like, I'm gonna be a bodybuilder. I'm not getting hit in the head like that. We got more damage that hit us or coming from the hits in the gym and the training than in the actual fight. And so why he asked that question is because Aaron Pryor was wild. From the beginning of the fight to the end, he just keep throwing punches. He wasn't even worried about defense. He would dodge blows that were obviously coming at him. He didn't give a damn. He was like a boxing zombie. He threw more punches than anybody in a fight. You knock him down sometimes, get right back up and be on you. And so he was inducted into the Hall of Fame, I believe, in 1996. But he has a more interesting story than just being a boxing champion, and named, I believe, by Ring Magazine, or maybe the Boxing Writers Hall of Fame, as the best junior welterweight in the 20th century. You have to correct me with those facts. But that's what it was. Aaron Pryor. Sugar Ray Leonard seemed like he didn't want to fight him. Tommy Hearns fought him in the amateurs. I'm not sure if Tommy Hearns won. I think Aaron Pryor won. But he was one of those who belonged up in there with Marvin Hagler, Sugar Ray Leonard, Roberto Duran, and Tommy Hearns. It should have been Aaron Pryor in there with him, but he was a division below, and he could have put on a little weight. But they weren't too fancy to fight him. He had a really colorful background and extreme dysfunction In his upbringing, there was prostitution in his bloodline, cross-dressing in his bloodline, drugs in his bloodline. He went through so much. And he saw this coming up. And see, some people will be discouraged. But you know, the life of a fighter is not an easy life. You got to make weight. You got to train every day. You got to spar every day. What happens when you say, man, I don't want to get hit today? You got to do it. Because your opponent for the fight that you're signed to fight, he's training, and you got to think, he's up training harder. He's up earlier, running more. He's refusing certain food from his diet. He's got to be strong. He's out there doing it. If I slack one day, he's going to whip me. I can't get all the dysfunctional things in his background. There's been a book and maybe a movie. I'm not sure the movie came out. They were talking about it, but I know for sure that there was a book written about him, and I want to get that book. Because I remember saying, God, dog, he went through all of that. So maybe that's what drove him to be the way he was. Like, I don't give it. I'm going to keep throwing punches. You can knock me down. I'm going to keep on coming at you. Forget style. Determination. Yes, you need style in boxing. You'll, you know, like Floyd Mayweather, hit and don't get hit. It was almost like Aaron Pryor was the opposite. I'm going to hit you and I don't care if you hit me. Because sometimes we can get to a place in life where we want to give up, and some do. And sometimes we get into a place in life where we realize we don't have no other option. We got to make this work. It's got to work. So I guess that's what he said. I done been through so much, seen so much about dysfunctional family. People dying and cross-dressing and prostitution. I don't want to say his mama was that. It might be that, but it's something in his family growing up, but he still survived and made it. Technically, and I'm not saying this, we always know that family, that in the lineage of their family, that most of the people ended up falling for something. And there's always that one that you just knew he's going to be the same way, just like everybody else. And he ends up still doing things, but he found a way to be successful. And I wonder, I know he transitioned, and I don't know too much about his life after boxing, but he was around for many years. So he might have been doing something right. But no matter where you come from, and I'm going to wrap this down, that yes, I just looked at Gifty, and I know you know a lot about boxing. Right? I know no 6 months before the big fight. I'm going to take somebody's head off. You're the reason why I wasn't. But you know what you're getting into when you get into that. It's extreme discipline. And a lot of the people that get into it, not necessarily was relegated just to that, but a lot of the people, they feel they have no choice. This is my way out, and you're not going to stop me. So whether you have a Miles Monroe background or an Aaron Pryor background, whatever cards was put in your hand from the deck of life, you got to realize that it's never too late. I don't care if they say you got 3 days to live and you really got 3 days to live. There's something you can pass on from the wisdom of you living your life to somebody else that they can run with this. And it helps them. And when you transition, they got more life because of you, because of what you fed into them. Very powerful thing. So imagine if all of us took the experiences that we've been through, that we've made it where we're not bitter about it. Because you can't give advice when it's bitter. You got to do your own healing. And don't let anybody make it seem like, I get over it. Yeah, I got over mine for 2 days, 3 days when I was drinking, I was all right. Well, no, I'm not you and you're not me. Never be embarrassed with the amount of time that it takes to heal. It might take you 10 years to heal and somebody else 25. This is not about a time thing. It's about arriving to a place within your heart where you could be functional. Not that there's anything's wrong with you, but each car that goes to the mechanic shop for repairs don't stay in the shop the same time. Well, I'm going to just change your brakes, but since we're doing an engine overhaul over here, and they're going to be in here for 2 weeks, we're going to keep your car for 2 weeks just to be fair. It doesn't work that way. I should have been nuts. I should have been crazy. I should have been violent. What if I did get, look. I know some people that love me very much, and they would have given me anything I wanted. What if I went up in there and LANCESCURV became this guy that, yeah, did you hear about that guy that walked up in there with 3 machine guns and blasted the whole floor at the hospital? But at the end of the day, how am I going to represent my mother? Right? I put the fear of God in those doctors, though. Oh, yeah. They're about to call security. I didn't threaten anybody, but the look on my face and the words that I said, and I was slick with it. I spotted them. I'm like, Man, the grief that was on my heart, I caught them in the bathroom. I waited till one of them got in the bathroom. Had his thing in his hand. I eased up next to him. Hey, let me tell you something, man. What up? Oh my God, he's going to come in and kill me. Oh no. Yeah, he was an Indian dude. He ran out of there pissing himself up. That's just another story for another day. But anyway, I'm just so glad that you all are here. And yes, rest in power, Michael Hamer. I haven't done a talk on him yet. I want to, but I'm still kind of choked up. I don't know what to say, but his service is coming up soon. I think it's the 17th. I put it in the community section of this channel. You'll just have to scroll down a little bit and I'll find it and put it up again. But he was doing a good job of transitioning empty. And I think it was about 3 weeks before I heard of his passing. He called me. Hey, Brother Lance, I'm ready to do another one. I said, brother, whenever you're ready, man. He would call me. And, he liked to monologue. And sometimes he liked to talk with everybody else, too. But on the monologues, I say, okay, I hit the button. It's all yours. This is the Rainbow Warrior. Mike Hamer coming at you with another one. He'd talk about the heart and the brain and the way he would say it. It was in such a loving, nurturing way. You couldn't help but, if you're a child sitting up in the high chair and he's kind of to the side of you talking, he had the kind of voice that if the child was crying, it would stop and try to turn around and, who is this talking? Hey, little baby, you don't have to worry about crying. You're safe. See, you got the brain. I'm not making fun of him, but I would joke with him like that personally. You know what I mean? So I was never making fun of him. But I still have to find the conversation between him and Brother Holla, who transitioned around September 2022. You see, in November here of 2023, they both had a conversation that was like about 3 or 4 hours long. And to think that, I was in it, but they were like getting in it deep and I couldn't mess it up. I said, let me be quiet. And as I heard these two brothers speaking, so powerful, I knew this conversation would be a classic that would last years on end. Even if people don't notice it and it has a couple thousand hits, it doesn't matter about the hits. It's the effect that it has on people when they walk away with some light that you shared with them. They may not even know his name or both of their names. They might have forgot their names and telling somebody, these two brothers, I can't forget. I can't remember where it was. It's this big head bald guy from New York City. It's his show, but what they said that night, I'll never forget. And it changed my life. They wasn't out there with no offering plate. I'm not throwing anything off of Miles Monroe. If he did, it's cool because of the way he is. He was a real one. But all these jacklegs out here, jackleg pastors. So just know that it's never too late. And I want to thank you for being here. I'm going to hit the sack. I might make a phone call or two or make a few text messages and whatever. And I'm just glad to do this. I started this out a little fatigued, and that was an hour and 10 minutes ago. I think I earned my sleep. I'm going to have a nice dreamy sleep and wake up refreshed and be right back at it again. Because tomorrow I have another 100% to give, and hopefully it will be 100% and not 12 or 30. But if it is 12% or 30% compared to today, I'm going to give 100% of that. All right? Much love to you all. LANCESCURV out. On to the next one as soon as I wake up. Peace.